I said, good to see you guys back. So I said it's always an exciting time of year, kicking off with the players back in the building. First of all, good luck to the Heat in their play-in game, and to the Panthers in the playoffs. So exciting time again for South Florida. So I'm sure rapid fire, Barry. Here we go. Yeah, no, I think the exciting thing is working with Anthony Weaver. Is his vision and obviously his work and what he's done in the league and as a player and coach, and Austin Clark as well. So very excited about that group. Having Zach back, of course, after Zach coming off a historic year for a Dolphin D tackle as well. Very excited, but the group we have, we're targeted players, really like their potential and what they can be. So we feel good about the group. These guys, we were talking about them today. They've been in working hard already, and it's a really good group. And starting to see that bond come together with that group, and they're all competing hard. And so anyway, with the roster, it's not a priority, but it's obviously any player that we can add that helps our roster is a good impact player. We'll take. It doesn't matter what position. I think we'll work through here through the spring and see how he fits and what we're doing, and so I would leave that for Anthony to ask you too, instead of me just assuming. No, not necessarily. I think it was more just the availability and for us, people who wanted to come play here. Because they've looked at what Austin and Anthony have done in their careers as coaches, so they're excited for the opportunity to come play for these guys and learn and compete. And they know nothing's been promised to any of them, and that's the exciting part. They all know they're coming in to compete, and so I just think it was the opportunity to add guys that we thought were quality players that had good upsides. Well, Dr. Phillips, I don't want to speak for him, but no, it's been fun watching those guys. They've been rehabbing like crazy, and you guys know them. They're kind of maniacal of just how they attack it, and so, I don't put any timelines or pressure on it. Our doctors have done a great job working with them and working through the process. So, any timelines I wouldn't feel comfortable with, and until we get to training camp, we give you guys more information then. But in terms of the roster, again, it's always the best player available, as we've talked about over the years, and so at whatever position that is that can impact us in round one, if we have that pick, we'll be excited to add them. Yeah, no, I think talking about players, obviously, you've seen here the last couple of years with some of the injuries we've had late in the season, the versatility of players is key. So guys that can play all along the offensive line or in the secondary, move around, that's really important for depth and building teams. So it helps. We're always looking for those players that can and do more things, because I think it just helps your roster. For us, we'll always keep looking for players that can do more. No, I think, listen, we always look at every position. I would say that's not someone I'm looking at the first round. It's not a position that we've even talked about. There's some good players. But we're very happy with Tua and where he is with us. So, but at some point, I wouldn't say we're not going to draft a quarterback at any point. I mean, we took Skyler here, in the 7th round years ago. So you always look at opportunities for where you can add depth in your roster. And so I just think that goes across the board for any position. Yeah, no, I think the best player available, and again, this is probably going back from, years. I said when I learned under, Coach Parcells years ago, and going through Coach Carroll, Nick Saban and stuff. So you always stack your board and you work hard. So, but your board, obviously early in the draft, will always look kind of how you set it in terms of best player. But when you get into the day threes, the boards, it's being picked apart, flying all over the place. So it's one of those. And I think sometimes when you get late in the draft, you end up looking for depth or filling holes in your roster. But for the most part, I think most teams would be early in the draft. You're always going to take the best player available for the first couple rounds, because that's where you probably have the most control of how your board looks in terms of how you spent all the offseason ranking, in terms of all your time with the coaching staff and scouts to build it. So, well, it's part of it, but it still goes post draft too, and there's still good players that are available that are veterans that are on the streets post draft too. So, but yeah, you'll always get into that end of the draft where people are like, hey, if there's position where there are maybe not a few players. There's a light at that position, and you don't want to compete. You go, we'll draft to that. If we have, like the traits in that player, we'll draft them and add them to that to the roster then. But it's always interesting the end of the draft process when you get to it, because you're looking at your boards and it's usually picked apart and no one has players left, and then it's really just looking at the depth there of where it is and where you need to fill, and then you make your decisions there. Yeah, some of those conversations are happening now, where teams call and say, hey, would you be willing to move down or move up? So for the most part, if a deal is too good to pass up, you'd pull the trigger now, because you never know what those opportunities come and go. But usually most of them are draft day, because people want to see if the players they're interested are still there. If someone has specifically targeted, one or two players, and again, it also could go at the depth of that position. There may be two players at a position they like in the first round, one's gone, and so a team wants to come up and get them. So, so for the most part, to your question, it's draft day, but we've had discussions with teams about moving up and down, them calling us, and so it's been the typical draft week, pre-week. Yeah, I think we're open to everything, but also you don't want to pass on a good player. That if there's someone there that we all feel very strongly about, that can really impact our roster. So you always weigh those factors of, it's great to pick up an extra third, but if that second round player is someone we really believe in, and it's like a Javon Holland or Jarvis Landry in the second round, then you'll take the player. He's been out of his mind, because now he's recommending everybody to me. But it's been fun. He's been, he and I have been watching a lot of players, talking, great communication. So it's been fun. I think he's very excited to add a good player, as we all are. We're getting to that point, but I would say we'll end up picking it up on him. I'm comfortable saying it. There's no reason for me to sit here and lie to you guys and hide it. But yes. I think we feel there'll be, we definitely feel there will be one or two players that we really like. There is where we are right now. We feel that we can get an impact player there that will help our team and roster, and we'd be very excited to add. So we've gone through it a few times. We'll keep going through it here, but we feel good about who would be there at 21 if we were to pick there. No, it's because you're asking that question because all that story when guys ask how many first, but no. As of right now, we do not have 21 first-round grades, but we feel that, again, when teams are building for their roster, teams are looking at different things. So you talk to every team, and they're usually in that 15 to 20 range on players, but it varies from team to team what everyone's looking for. Yeah, no, Javon is a big piece here, and we'll spend some time talking with him, and we're excited for him to just get healthy and have a good year here. So he's an important piece. I said I love him, and my kids love watching his anime stuff on on Twitter that he talks about all the time. But he's an important piece, and we'll be talking with him here in the future. Like I said, I've always been Joe. We don't really talk publicly about things like that. We're aware of it. We're in a good spot with those guys, so I'll just leave it at that. I think it goes all to the systems too. Like for you guys have watched how we play the offensive line, and some guys are great fits for it. Some are okay fits for it. So as you kind of go through it, again, that's what we talk about with the number of picks in the first round by team will vary. So there's some good players that we do like, and there's other ones that we feel will be good players, and they're not ideal scheme fits, but they can play in the scheme. So for us, we have more than enough guys we feel good about that can help us. Yeah, nothing imminent on it. It's been we've had some discussions back and forth a little bit, but as of right now, there's nothing that in the works to get anything done. This is always, the draft is always a fun time when you go through it and the off season, because you're always trying to see how you can help your roster going into a season where every year there's always change. So I enjoy this part of the year. I enjoy working with the coaches and the scouts, and just sitting talking ball, because it's like the purest part of just talking football and players and people. So that's what I enjoy about it. And then now that the players are back in the building, very excited for this upcoming season, and it was good to see a bunch of guys out there running and getting going. Well, that's hard because it's, but obviously, most recently would probably be, Devon last year. HN was a guy that we were very high on and spent a lot of time getting to know him. And I'd say in the past, probably Andrew Van Ginkel was one, because he was kind of transferred into Wisconsin and, had a little bit of production and just watching him grow as a person and player over the last few years. Very happy for him. Sad to see him go, he knows, but very happy for him. But there's been a number of guys over the years that you go through it and you just talk about, even Xavier was one too. Xavier was always a guy that was talented, and he would tell you, we interviewed him at the combine, and it was a terrible interview. And he would laugh, he would tell you that. And then we brought him in on a 30 visit, and he was lights out, like knew all the players, everything, talking about history of Dolphins stuff. So it was cool. And so then watch him, the evolution of him, where his rookie year he played and got criticized a little bit for some of his play as a rookie, and then becoming an All-Pro. So it was fun watching his growth and the number of things he did behind the scenes that when he came by to see me probably a month or so ago, we had a long talk about just everything he did behind the scenes, and I'm so proud of him, how he worked so hard to get to where he was. So those are always satisfying moments to watch when players get what they've worked hard for. No, I think you're always looking at your roster. You always try and take a 2-year look into the future, what it could be. So it's we always knew that possibility could be with him. Was very respectful of his time, and to his credit, he is an incredible communicator. And I've gotten to know him over the last couple of years. He is a fantastic person, and so I'm very glad he's coming back because he's impacted that room so much with those young guys and helped Austin and all those guys grow, and Liam, and so having him back is important. But you always look at every position when you kind of go through it and try and look at and try and anticipate what some of the issues could be in the future. Yeah, I think it's something when it happens. We've had communications with him, and I'll just leave those between the organization and his representation, and it's been good. So we'll just keep working towards it. Him and his agent are very understanding that this is now the draft, so he's letting us focus on that, and then we'll turn our attention to that after the draft finishes. No, you got to give him all the credit. He's just like last offseason when he attacked him, to stay healthy and doing the jiu-jitsu or judo, whichever one I know. But he's just watching him work and how he wants to be great and doing. So he took all this stuff on his own and told us what he was going to do. So you got to give him all the credit on that. No, I think this to his credit, like he's trying to do everything he can to do what he can to be great, and that's been from day one when Mike and him connected here and working through this first season, and then making the changes off season, working through last year, staying healthy, leading the league in passing, and now this is his next evolution. As Mike has told you guys, we feel like there is a whole nother step that he can take, and so we're excited about his future. Yeah, he's been very clear, which is great. He communicates well. He's had great examples of the types of players he's been looking for. So it's been fun working with him. I think our scouts and the coaches, it's been pretty seamless in terms of making those adjustments. And even if there's been some division on some of the college guys, just what he's looking for, what we see, and just incorporating why. Have a pretty good idea. I mean, you guys probably a little bit of some of the Baltimore stuff, but he's also got some things I think he wants to implement on his own, and I'll let him talk about all that stuff and go through it as you guys meet with him throughout the spring and summer. No, it can be challenging at times, but again, it's part of the job and the business. I mean, I think the most important thing is trying to get everyone on the same page as soon as possible, so you can adjust through that off season for the free agency and through the draft. And I think having clear communication and having some idea of what they've done in the past helps. But I think a lot of it goes to the coaches. Like Anthony deserves a lot of credit for coming in here, being so prepared and having everything ready with visuals and everything for us to go through, so that he made that transition a lot easier for everyone. Yeah, I think we've all seen it. I think from everywhere, from defensive tackles to wide receivers, you know, obviously the quarterback position. So I think it's become more of a league of, whoever your good players are going to be pushing, to get that amount of money. And so I think it's exciting for the players. And I think the one thing that it shows is that teams will do that and take care of people. And it's just with the salary cap league, it makes, this was to me, in just my opinion, it was like an unprecedented year of change for rosters throughout the offseason. I hadn't really seen a year like that in a long time, where people were forced to make changes. But it's exciting. I think it's good for the players that they can get, now it's not just the quarterbacks or left tackles or someone, getting, I think, being able to spread it out and helping the teams, for the players that work hard and make this game great. I think it's exciting for the NFL, and I think that's why people love the NFL.